Joining us now from Los Angeles is former NBA player Kenny Smith, now a basketball analyst for TNT. Kenny, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Any possible excuse or explanation for why Gilbert Arenas, loaded or not loaded, would have guns in a locker room in the NBA?
Well, I think it's bad discretion, and it shows just probably a lack of immaturity on Gilbert's part more than anything else. I think he has an idea about how he said it. The reason he had it there was to take it away from the home, but I think it's just bad judgment, and being very immature.
Is there a subculture of guns? Is there a subculture of gambling in the NBA?
Well, I think that, first, with Gilbert, to me, from what I know of him and know about him, he's definitely not a menacing person. However, he at times has been very immature. And, the subculture, so to speak, of it's this American problem, I think, is guns and gambling. It doesn't make the NBA immune to it. I think a lot of people think because you're in the NBA, all of a sudden things become immune to societal problems. Societal problems is not going to stop at the Washington Wizards arena.
Feel me, like a nigga Mo was on some nasty shit, so I'm not gonna lie, I did some nasty shit too. I went to the NCAA, I called the NCAA up, and I guarantee y'all, like everybody watching, I guarantee y'all, if Mo plays this year at Texas, spit on me, cause that means I'm lame and I ain't keep my word. But I went to the NCAA. We plan on meeting this weekend, and he's about to come out to San Marcos, get my testimony and shit. So I'm dressed up like a real Harlem nigga and snitch like a real Harlem nigga, cause I'm a Harlem nigga. Cause I'm a snitch. I'm gonna snitch on my own brother. I'm gonna tell him all the truth, and he ain't gonna be able to play this shit. Whatever happens, happens, bro. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is, man.
No matter where you go, where your profession take you, at heart, you're always from where you're from. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, if you see a lot of ball players that make it out, but still go back to their neighborhood and chill on the corner and chill around their block and, different stuff like that because, that's their plane. Like, that's where they're from and that's, where they're comfortable at.
You have a responsibility once you make it. There's tons of eyes on you. And they always say, like, yo, once a guy make it, he leaves the hood. Well, you're supposed to. Why would I want to, why would I want to stay from where I came from when we know it's not a good situation? Now, what I don't condone or what I'm not big on is, like, if I do leave, it's okay to give back, right? It's okay to set up foundations. It's okay to, maybe rebuild a YMCA, a rec center or something and still be involved. But I don't have to hang with the same crowd. If they're not evolving, why would I?
Like, I can't hold another brother accountable for making bad decisions when they never was taught how to make a decision. You know what I mean? Like, they never was exposed to anything.
I don't want no yes men around me. I don't want nobody that's just gonna go along with what I'm saying. So, and a lot of it has to do with people, just needing that type of control and having yes men around them, always being right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, going along with everything they're saying. You know what I mean? No, you're wrong. Everybody has an opinion. If you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it.
I didn't have a large circle. I didn't have a lot of people with me. I had about one or two of my close friends that was out with me that was on in the city I was playing at the time. And then that only happened for like the first year, my rookie year. And then from there on out, my wife, who was my girlfriend back then, she was the one who was with me. She was out there with me.
It can be detrimental, but it also, can be, a savior also. Like, you can have a type of influence where you can save people's lives. You can save people that, that look up to you or people that have respect for you and listen to you. I've seen many ball players, I've seen many rappers, squash beef that ain't had nothing to do with them, but they knew parties on both of the sides. And, they made a call, they had to sit down and listen, this ain't worth it, or this ain't that, blase, blase, blase. So it could go both ways. It could be detrimental, but it also could be life-saving. Like, you could stop wars if that person in your neighborhood, that person in your community, like, you can stop a lot of wars and a lot of fights and a lot of gun violence and stuff like that. And then you got a lot of rappers, you know, that do the same thing. That's where they from. That's where they comfortable at. You know, Meek come to Philly. Meek, you know, he go down Burke Street. Go down Burke Street. He's comfortable down Burke Street. You know, he comfortable in the hood. You know, go down South Philly. You know what I mean? Where he was brought up at. He's comfortable down there. You know, you got rapper. I mean, you got hoopers. You know, when they come to their neighbor. Waiters. When waiters come to Philly, he go to his hood. He comfortable there. The Twins, they go where they grew up at on Jerome Street. They go there because that's where they're comfortable at, and it's in them. That's what they know. So, as far as differentiating or making it to a certain level, and then, you know, or a certain platform, and then, you know, just trying to nix everything that you're about or everything that came with you or made you who you was, it's pretty much impossible.
So if like I have a group of homies and I'm like, look, if you respect me, you love what I do, and you love me as a person, you either gonna change what you're doing, and I'll help you. I'm not gonna give you a handout. I'll start a foundation, be the president of my anti-gang movement in Watts, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times they don't want that. They want to stick to what they are. So you have to respect me if I want to move on. So I'm not a big fan of the ones that think they still need to keep it hood, because you don't. You know, a lot of people die for trying to keep it real. You know what I mean? Like, fuck keeping it real, right? Like, be real to your family, be real to your loved ones, you know, and it's okay to try to bring people and carry them on, but if they don't want to carry the weight themselves, you got to move on.
On September 25, 2000, weeks before the rising star began his third season with the Celtics, Pierce was a victim of a violent stabbing. Pierce was stabbed 11 times in the face, neck, and back, and had a champagne bottle smashed over his head at a facility called the Buzz Club. The club was a late-night dance club in the Boston Theater District. Pierce was stabbed at the private event while in the pool room in the early mornings at around 1 a.m. Luckily for him, he was with several friends, including at least one teammate. Tony Batty, Pierce's teammate at the time, along with Batty's brother, saved him by rushing him to a nearby hospital. The 22-year-old player had to undergo lung surgery to repair most of the damage on his collapsed lung. One of the stab wounds had gone as far as 7 inches deep. The Celtic star laid there fighting for his life. After being stabbed, Pierce remembered saying to himself, "I hope I don't die. I just want to make it through this. Am I going to live?" Former Celtic star and coach Tommy Hainson said Pierce had been wearing a leather jacket which helped protect him. Witnesses claimed that Pierce was attempting to separate a fight when he was stabbed. Police said they were investigating witness reports that the fight involved people connected to a local rap group called Made Men. However, till this day, no one knows what the fight was about. Witnesses claim there were as many as 20 people involved in the fight at the club that night. Unfortunately, nobody was arrested, at least at the time. The nightclub, which operated under different names at different times of the week, would be blamed for allowing an assault and battery happen on its grounds. Several other violations had previously happened at the club, including at least 2 assaults in that year. Anyhow, while Paul Pierce fought for his life in the Boston hospital, the city was desperate for the truth about what happened to their local hero. On September 28, 2000, 2 of the 3 men wanted by police in the stabbing turned themselves in. 31-year-old Tony McRae and 34-year-old Trevor Watson appeared at a Boston police station at 7:30 p.m. with their lawyers and surrendered. There was a warrant issued for Hertzen, Watson, and the last suspect, 28-year-old William Ragland, charging all 3 with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Hertzen was accused to have used the bottle that was smashed on Pierce's head, while Watson and Ragland were alleged to have used a knife. All 3 men were members of Made Men, a rap group that witnesses reportedly told police might have had a connection to the stabbing the night it happened. 2 women had testified before a grand jury identifying all 3 defendants 10 days after the stabbing. It would take almost 2 years after the stabbing for the accused men to go to a jury. Conflicting stories and denied testimonies made the case even more of a mystery. A couple of years later, all 3 defendants charged with trying to kill Paul Pierce were acquitted. 2 of the men were convicted on lesser charges and were even found innocent of armed assault with intent to murder in the attack. However, the jury finally reached the verdict on its 4th day. In the end, Ragland and Watson were both convicted of assault and battery, while Ragland received an additional conviction of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Ragland was facing up to 10 years in prison for the assault with a dangerous weapon conviction and another 2.5 years for the assault and battery. Watson was looking at 2.5 years behind bars. Unfortunately for Trevor Watson, he would return back to his cell after being sentenced to 30 years in prison for the attempted murder of a drug enforcement agent in 2010. Paul Pierce himself said, "I'm happy this has come to an end. It was an unfortunate incident for all involved, and I'm looking forward to putting it behind me and focusing my attention on the upcoming season."
With disturbing news concerning a member of the Knicks. Cleanthony Early is recovering tonight after being shot in the right knee during a robbery outside of a strip club in Queens early Wednesday morning. Cops say the backup forward was targeted by 6 suspects as he left the club at about 4:15 a.m.
I kind of look down and I see blood, you know what I mean, on my jeans, inside of my jeans. So I kind of just pull down my pants and I see 2 holes in my leg. And the first thing I think is, how am I going to explain this shit?
Glenn Big Baby Davis, former NBA player best known for his role in the 2008 championship Boston Celtics, was arrested at this Hampton Inn in Aberdeen last month. According to court records, the hotel owner smelled marijuana coming from Davis's room. When he knocked on the door, someone inside the room used expletives to tell him to go away.
They recovered 126 grams of marijuana. In addition to that, there was a briefcase that contained $92,164 of U.S. currency, along with a ledger that contained language consistent with someone involved in the sale and distribution of narcotics.
It's your boy, Big Baby, man. Don't believe all that shit on the internet. I will have my day in court. They just mad because a black man got money, man. Trying to keep a black man down, man. Hey, man, shout out Rollo, man. All those people, man, getting money, man. My shit legal, man. A lot of jump shots. A whole lot of jump shots. Popeye chicken.
Right in court today, a surprise hearing where she ultimately accepted responsibility for her role in the death of NBA star Lorenzen Wright. Local 24 News reporter Brad Broders is live for us at 201 Poplar where this all went down today. Brad, kind of share with us what was going through your mind when you were watching all of this unfold in the courtroom.
Well, John, this was certainly a surprise appearance today by Shara Wright. This was not on the docket today. We got wind about this about 10 o'clock this morning, came over here to 201 Poplar, and about 11 o'clock the proceedings began. Shara Wright has a guilty plea. She pleaded guilty to facilitation of first-degree murder and attempted facilitation of first-degree murder. She was sentenced as part of that guilty plea to 30 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole in about 8 to 9 years, and she will be given credit for the roughly 2 years she has already served since being arrested in December 2017. The legal team of Shara Wright is speaking behind me. You can probably see them. This ends a more than 9-year saga after the murder of Lorenzen Wright in July 2010 in southeast Memphis. Just a few days ago, last week, was the 9-year anniversary. This was a cold case for nearly 7.5 years until the arrest of Billy Turner in December 2017. Then Shara Wright, a few weeks later, mid-2017, arrested in Riverside, California. In the courtroom a short while ago, Paul Hagerman read some of the key points of the affidavit alleging the crime that Shara Wright committed. She pleaded guilty. After the guilty plea, prosecutor Paul Hagerman said this was a guilty plea. It was not an Alfred plea where you're presuming you're maintaining your innocence, but you're still pleading guilty. This was a guilty plea. The attorneys behind me for Shara Wright just told me if you could call it a best case scenario guilty plea, they would, because she is potentially eligible for parole in 7 years. She could get out of prison in her 50s.